It is Wednesday, which means we're going to be looking back at the past 7 days of Cavs action. Usually I talk about the Cavs games that happened, and then at the very end of the video, I will talk about the NBA standings and where the Cavs rank up as far as the Eastern Conference. However, we're going to be doing that right at the beginning of this video because the 2022-2023 Cleveland Cavaliers have clinched the NBA playoffs. They don't even have to worry about being in the play-in rounds. They will bypass all of those and go straight to a 7-game series against whoever they play against. They are currently the 4th seed in the East, and that is most likely where they'll end up. It is technically possible mathematically that they could catch the 76ers at the 3 seed. They can even fall behind the Knicks at the 5 seed, but I think both of them are pretty unlikely scenarios. Either way, whether it's the 4 seed or whatever, this is definitely the best non-LeBron Cavs team that I've seen play in my lifetime, I believe. And I think that it's just been a great season to watch for Cavs basketball. It's definitely better than last season, as unexpectedly good as last season was. They're doing what this roster was constructed to do. That's why they went out and traded the assets that they traded to get Donovan Mitchell to really establish that, they're going to at least get 4 cracks at making a dent in the NBA playoffs this season. They're not going to have to worry about getting past a gimmick this year. That'll be fun. So here's how we got here. Starting with last Thursday in Brooklyn against the Nets, they pull out a win 116-114. This was a close game that kind of looked like Brooklyn would pull away in the 4th quarter, and that would have been a little bit sad due to some really good showings, both Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen having double-doubles. Evan Mobley continuing his stretch of fantastic play as of late. Donovan Mitchell putting up more than 30 points. But the Cavs aren't the only team on the court. The Brooklyn Nets had guys going off too. Mikal Bridges and Spencer Dinwiddie were problems for the Cavs. Joe Harris off the bench was dangerous from the outside for the Nets. Although for the Cavs, again, Caris LeVert getting in the good graces of the fan base a little bit at just the right time. I think not dealing him is starting to maybe look like one of the better of the two options, or maybe getting him or maybe making a lateral move for someone else. He seems to be stepping up just the right moment, and he is kind of seeming to step his game up just before the playoffs start, when you want guys like him who are coming off the bench to get a little warm. So it's in clutch time of the game. There's about 2 minutes left, and the Cavs are down by 8. It was time to see what they would have, what this team is capable of. Obviously, they had to score, to get the points needed to win, but I do feel like the Cavs defense clamped down pretty well in the final stretch. The Brooklyn Nets did get points in, but I feel like they just made some tough shots, and the Cavs defense made it hard on them to score throughout the final stretch of the game. Guys like Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell stepping up and making plays, but they do need a guy like Caris LeVert to step up like he did in that game against the Nets, where he had a steal, drew some fouls, made a tough shot. He had a nice game at the end there, and of course the final sequence was insane, from Donovan Mitchell missing the free throw to the mad scramble for the ball between the two teams, and then to Isaac Okoro's game-winning 3 from the corner. It was kind of started out as a meme with teams leaving Isaac Okoro or Lamar Stevens, whoever was playing that spot, wide open for that corner 3. If Isaac Okoro can develop some real consistency with that and make teams start to pay for it, then maybe defenses will start having to take that into consideration and really open up the floor for the rest of the players who are out there with him. A great win for the team. Maybe you don't want to see them, competing that closely with the Nets, but again, both of these teams are fighting for playoff seeding, and the Cavs hadn't clinched at that point, so both teams having with things to play for. And that leads us to Sunday's game back at home against the Rockets. They take a win home, 108-91. Looks a little bit more comfortable. This was the win that clinched not their first playoff berth, but this was the win that clinched their playoff berth for this season. The game started like you would expect these two teams to have. The Cavs breaking away in the first quarter. The Rockets obviously not very good. Although Houston did start to mount a comeback in the third quarter. Jalen Green having a great night for Houston. It was just a 5-point game heading into the 4th, so make you a little bit itchy as a Cavs fan. But Cleveland did collect themselves. They started playing pretty well, like they were playing against the Rockets. They finally figured out who they were playing for again, and they won comfortably to clinch the playoffs. So that was a nice thing to see. Jarrett Allen with a dominant double-double. Evan Mobley with another good performance as well. Caris LeVert still getting most of the bench minutes. However, during this game, there was some concern with Jarrett Allen and Isaac Okoro. They were both dealing with injuries. As far as they go, now that they've clinched the playoffs, I just hope that both of them are ready to go by April 15th. I'm not worried about, maybe the Knicks do catch up in the standings, and, Jarrett Allen and Isaac Okoro both aren't 100%, but we need to secure home court. I would say, maybe rest them to the playoffs and try to get them as close to 100% as possible before walking them back out there to play again. I honestly think that now that you've clinched the playoffs and you're not going to have to worry about the play-in, I think you can afford to just kind of rest your guys up if they are hurt. I'm not saying give guys management days for no reason, if just because they feel like they need the rest, but if they're hurt and they're injured, I don't see any point in playing them until they're fully ready to give 100% to the team. And then you get to yesterday's game in Atlanta against the Hawks, losing a close one, 120 to 118. So with those two injuries to Okoro and Jarrett Allen, LeVert and Lamar Stevens move into the starting five. This was a tough loss. They couldn't quite complete that fourth quarter comeback effort. I believe they entered the fourth quarter down 10. They made a valiant effort to come back from it, but just couldn't get the job done. The usual starters in Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland, they all had pretty good scoring nights. Donovan Mitchell especially with 44 points. This didn't get really much help from anyone else on the team, and Atlanta's bench really had themselves a night, and Murray, who was obviously the starter for them, went off for 29 points. But, the Hawks bench with Okongwu, Sadiq Bey, and Bogdanovic all having impact for the Atlanta Hawks, and the Cavs' depth just wasn't really able to match it because they're already dealing with injuries. Plus, Dean Wade didn't play in this game with illness as well. So the Cavs dealing with some injury issues, and, I'm not going to say that that's not an excuse for them to losing. It's just saying that the people you would need to step up, they just didn't step up. And that's really too bad because Trae Young had a pretty down game for him. He couldn't take advantage of that. The Hawks in general, I just find kind of annoying. We can talk about the officiating if they had a bad game, but the Cavs did have a chance to take the lead on their last possession. They did have they had their destiny in their own hands at the very end of the game. The Donovan Mitchell ISO play didn't work. He shot a tough contested three and he missed it. And then obviously the buzzer beater is kind of a Hail Mary anyway. You don't usually expect those to go in. But overall, I do think that this is a loss that the Cavs can shake off. I think they'll have an opportunity to show that they're locked in and they're ready to go in their next game against the Knicks on Friday. But again, who knows if they're going to be 100% for that game as well, as I think Okoro and Allen are still questionable or even doubtful for that one. Who knows if Dean Wade will have gotten better by then. So overall, this was a good week for the Cavs, a net positive. You clinched the playoffs, and I think it's a pretty good week for a fan of any team that clinches the playoffs. I think you're having a good time, is what I'm saying. And despite maybe some hopefully minor injuries to some impact players for the Cavs, and maybe that cost in this game against the Knicks, I'm feeling pretty positive overall, seeing that the Cavs will actually get to play in a real series and not just a one-game play-in kind of thing. So seeing that with, again, a post-LeBron team, the Cavs have pretty much been they're only good if they have LeBron, and if they don't have LeBron, then they're probably going to suck. That started to change last season and this season with the Donovan Mitchell trade, and that's worked out pretty well for the Cavs, I would say, looking at the results. The future seems to be only getting brighter for the Cavs from here on out. So thank you all for watching this video. If you made it this far, I will see you at the next one.